Aslan zo ijet. Det jet you chish.
Who? Finally, Predator, Badlands is here. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this ain't just a movie. It's a wild, raw, addictive experience that'll make you feel the heartbeat of the hunt in every damn scene. Picture this, a planet forgotten by the gods, where the air cuts like glass, the ground bleeds, and every sound might be the last thing you ever hear. In that hellhole called Jenna, a young Yautja named Dek gets exiled by his own clan. No honor, no backup, just pure instinct burning in his veins. Survive or die hunting. But what starts as a shot at redemption turns into a nightmare written in legend, because waiting for him out there is Kalisk, a beast so massive and deadly, even the oldest hunters whisper its name in fear. And right in the middle of that chaos stands Thea, an android from Wayland Yutani who against all logic feels more human than most humans. From Dan Trachtenberg, the mastermind behind Prey and 10 Cloverfield Lane, comes Predator Badlands, pushing the saga to the edge, more brutal, more emotional, and directly tied to the alien universe. And yo, pay attention to this. Inside the Yautja mothership, there's a trophy room stacked with human skulls, dinosaurs, engineers, and even a freaking harvester from Independence Day, an epic twist that might just kick off the biggest crossover in science fiction history. It all starts with the creed that drives every Yautja. They're no one's prey, no one's friend. They're the predators of everyone. We open on Yautja Prime, the homeworld of these ultimate hunters. A ship cuts across the sky, and aboard it is Quay. With the precision of a seasoned warrior, he fires a laser line and swings across the mountains. Once he lands, he pulls back his hood and scans the landscape with a sharp, unshaken gaze. Then he steps into a dark cave and mutters, "I can feel you, brother. You're hiding." He's hunting his own blood, his brother Dek. Out of nowhere, Dek bursts from the shadows and the two clash in a brutal fight. Quay tells him he's still too young to battle, that he fights with blind rage. Dek snaps back that he fights like their father, but Quay shuts him down cold. "You're nothing like him." The brawl rages on, savage and relentless, until Quay takes him down hard and sends him crashing into the abyss below. Barely hanging on, Dek claws his way up from the edge, bloodied but alive. He roars at his brother that he's still standing. Quay looks down with disdain and tells him he's still got a long way to go, that he doesn't even know who he is yet. Dek growls back full of pride, claiming he is a Yautja, but Quay, cold as stone, just replies, "Not yet." Quay walks over, fixes Dek's helmet, and tells him he just saved his life. Then he warns him not to blow his own head off and says it's time to take the ancient oath, the same vow their ancestors made to earn their place in the clan. Dek must choose a prey, hunt it and bring it back, or never return. Dek chooses Genna, the dead planet. That's where he'll face Kalisk, the ultimate predator, a creature feared by both Yautja and the humans of Wayland Yutani. Kalisk stands over 3 meters tall, with strength and instincts beyond anything alive. Quay warns him that even their father fears that monster, but Dek's made up his mind. Failure means death, Quay reminds him. Without hesitation, Dek swears he won't fail. Moments later, an older Yautja steps out of the shadows. Nyor, their father, a warrior of the ancient ranks. He asks Quay why he didn't finish the job. He was supposed to kill Dek, the weakest of their bloodline. Quay defends him, saying Dek will return with Kalisk's head as an offering to the clan, but Nyor bursts into a mocking laugh. He doesn't believe it. He tells Quay he should have slit his brother's throat while he slept. Furious, Nyor sets a trap to ensure Dek never comes back alive. Before leaving, he orders Quay to do his duty and end his own brother. Quay steps up to Dek, looks him straight in the eyes, and tells him firmly to be brave. Without hesitation, he cuts through the trap their father had set. In that instant, Quay turns against Nyor, defying his own blood to protect his brother. The fight between father and son is brutal, metal clashing, roars echoing through the dark, while Dek, powerless, hides among the shadows. Despite his strength, Quay is eventually overpowered. Nyor, cold and merciless, declares that sparing the weak is the greatest weakness of all. Then, before Dek's horrified gaze, he decapitates his own son. Quay's body hits the ground as Nyor walks away without a flicker of remorse. The ship fires up and within seconds vanishes into the skies of Yautja Prime. Dek stands frozen, his heart burning with rage and grief. The ship carries him toward his fate, the planet Genna, known as the Planet of Death. The landing is rough. The ship crashes through trees before stopping in a cloud of thick fog. Dek crawls out battered and bleeding, and silently vows to bring back Kalisk's head in honor of his fallen brother. After catching his breath, he arms himself and begins the hunt. But it doesn't take long for him to realize Genna isn't just another world. Strange creatures rise from the ground, twisted and root-like, almost like living trees. Without hesitation, Dek aims his weapon and opens fire, but quickly realizes these things are way tougher than they look. They move like massive carnivorous plants, surrounding him, striking relentlessly. Dek fights back with everything he's got, using his instincts and wit to climb up the side of a rock, finally getting out of their reach. He makes his way to a nearby river, washing the blood and grime from his wounds. But as he does, he spots a few strange worms, and the moment he touches one, it detonates, almost taking him with it. Shaken, he keeps pushing forward through the hostile terrain until he stumbles into a field of spike-covered plants that resemble corn, except these explode at the slightest sound. Suddenly, a massive bird-like creature swoops overhead, dropping stones and setting off a chain of violent explosions. From a distance, Dek spots Thea, an android from Wayland Yutani, half her body destroyed after a failed mission. With a calm, metallic voice, she explains that the bird uses the spikes to paralyze its prey before devouring it. Then she offers to team up with him to survive. Dek growls that a Yautja hunts alone. Thea glances at him and replies softly, "They hunt alone, but they also die alone." They stare at each other in silence, surrounded by a world where even life itself feels like another predator. Suddenly, one of the spikes pierces Dek's armor and wounds him. Dizzy and drained, he makes a desperate choice to trust Thea. He tosses her one of his tools and just before blacking out, lets her take over. Thea charges forward with fierce determination, facing the massive bird head-on and bringing it down, saving the Yautja's life. When Dek wakes up, Thea tells him the truth. She's a synthetic sent by Wayland Yutani. No human could survive a single day on this planet. She explains that many Yautja have come to hunt the legendary Kalisk, but none have ever returned. Thea claims she's seen the creature and lived to tell the tale. She offers a deal. If he takes her to Kalisk's lair, she'll guide him to his prey and help recover the legs she lost, which are now somewhere inside the beast's den. At first, Dek refuses. His Yautja pride won't let him accept help, but Thea coolly corrects him. She won't be his partner, she'll be his tool. Only then does Dek agree to the alliance. As they travel together, Thea opens up. She mentions having a sister, another synthetic named Tessa. Both were built differently, with something rare for machines, a kind of sensitivity that makes them almost human. Dek tells her that sensitivity is just another form of weakness. Thea pauses for a moment, then quietly admits that her original mission was with her sister Tessa, until Kalisk tore them apart, and she hasn't seen her since. Meanwhile, inside the Wayland Yutani facility, we see Tessa in rough shape. Engineers are repairing and reprogramming her, assigning a new mission. The company isn't happy with her performance. They warn her that another failure means permanent shutdown. They inform her that a Yautja has taken Thea prisoner. With a cold, empty stare, Tessa readies herself for deployment. Back on Jenna, Dek and Thea hunt together. Hungry, Dek goes after his prey, but before he can strike, a small bipedal creature leaps in front of him. It's Bud, a quick monkey-like being with sharp instincts and boundless energy. Bud snatches the animal first, leaving Dek fuming. The Yautja charges, lands a precise blow, and asserts dominance, scaring Bud off and finishing the hunt himself. Bud watches from a distance, puzzled but strangely impressed. But peace doesn't last long. A massive lunar insect bursts from the ground, trapping them in its claws. Dek fights with all his might but can't break free. Then in a sudden, fearless move, Bud leaps into action, attacking the creature to distract it and save them both. The insect grabs Bud with furious strength, but Dek reacts instantly. He slices through a nearby tree with his weapon, climbs to the top, and launches himself down like a spear, driving his blade straight through the creature's core. The beast collapses dead. Dek lands hard, saving Bud's life and earning the little one's respect. Far away, Tessa continues tracking them, moving through ruins and fog, darker and more powerful than ever. That night, Dek, Thea, and Bud rest by a crackling fire. In a strange ritual, Bud marks Dek as part of his clan. Thea interprets the gesture, but Dek answers somberly that he has no clan. "I had a brother," he says quietly, "but my father killed him." Thea gazes at him for a long moment, then replies softly that she still has something left to find. Her sister, Tessa. As Dek stretches, little Bud imitates every move, clumsy but determined. His awkward attempts to look like a true hunter make Thea smile, and for the first time she lets out a laugh that sounds almost human. Meanwhile, Tessa tracks down the Yautja's ship. She sneaks inside, scans the logs, and finds Dek's damaged armor along with fragments from the battle. By dawn, Dek wakes with resolve. He tells Thea it's time to move on, but his plan is to leave Bud behind. Thea reminds him that the little guy saved them from the lunar insect, but Dek, cold and unmoved, says that danger's gone, and he doesn't have time to babysit anyone. In a flat tone, he adds that the only reason he keeps her around is because she's useful. "A Yautja hunts alone," he growls. As they move on, they reach a river. While Dek checks the perimeter, Thea scans the water and detects traces of Kalisk. The monster drinks there. She takes the chance to teach him something. She talks about wolves, explaining that they hunt in packs, always following an alpha. Dek, with that proud Yautja edge, assumes the alpha's the one who kills the most. Thea shakes her head calmly. "No," she says. "The alpha's the smartest one." Her words hang heavy in the air, meant to make him see the strength in cooperation. But Dek ignores her. Finally, they reach Kalisk's lair, a colossal cave draped in black roots and littered with bones of ancient victims. Thea explains that the beast wiped out nearly every synthetic Wayland Yutani ever sent. Inside, she finds her missing legs. She rigs up a makeshift med unit to reconnect them. As the system powers on, she quietly confesses that she activated her location beacon. Wayland Yutani synthetics are on their way. She looks at Dek and says softly that she'll never forget him, but he needs to go. Dek, his pride still burning, tells her he won't forget her either. He swears he'll hunt down Kalisk for his brother and for her, promising she'll be the first to witness his victory. But Thea reveals something that chills him to the core. Wayland Yutani had sent her sister Tessa, and a team of other synthetics to capture Kalisk. That means she's not alone, and more are coming. Dek's fury ignites. He thinks it's all been a setup, that Thea's been using him. His eyes burn with rage and mistrust. He vows that no one will steal his trophy, that he alone will kill the beast and claim the glory. Without another word, he storms out, leaving Thea behind. Outside, he arms himself, sets the charges, and triggers a massive explosion to lure the monster out. The ground quakes. From the shadows, Kalisk emerges, a towering beast with burning eyes and armor-like skin. Dek charges in, striking hard, landing a few brutal hits that actually draw blood. But the wounds seal themselves right before his eyes. Kalisk moves with impossible speed, smashing Dek with a crushing blow and hurling him through the air. He crashes back into the cave, right where Thea is. The impact shatters the med unit, cutting off her repair process before her legs can fully reconnect. Wounded and barely functional, Thea watches as Dek is about to be torn apart. Without thinking, she grabs a weapon off the ground and fires again and again, desperately trying to distract Kalisk. The shots barely slow the creature down, but they buy Dek just enough time. With a furious roar, the Yautja launches himself forward and in one brutal strike slices the beast's head clean off. For a moment, Dek feels victorious. Kalisk's head tumbles across the ground, but seconds later, her massive body begins to twitch. The flesh knits itself back together, muscle by muscle, until the monster rises again, angrier, stronger, unstoppable. The real fight has only just begun. As Kalisk moves in for the kill, she sniffs Dek and to his shock stops. At that exact moment, Tessa appears, freezing everyone in place with a single command. Later, we see her standing beside Thea. Tessa tells her she was right. Kalisk is a degenerative mutation, a monster, and humanity will thank them for destroying it. She adds that the corporation will be especially grateful for one thing, capturing the Yautja alive. But Thea sees through it and refuses to go along. She knows the Yautja, knows he's wounded, broken, but not evil. She tells Tessa it would be better to take his weapons and let him go. But Tessa pushes to take at least one sample. When she does, the Yautja screams in unbearable pain. Thea, furious, demands she stop and says he isn't a threat, that on their journey he protected her. Thea also says she found out that Tessa only came to rescue her. Tessa laughs coldly and says she acted only to complete her mission, not out of any affection. Thea doesn't matter to her. She reminds Thea that the time she defended Kalisk, the mission failed because of her weakness. She almost made the same mistake Dek's brother made. Then she makes her stance clear. The weak must be eliminated. Finally, she tells Thea she's defective, that she no longer works the way she should. Tessa goes on saying their creator gave them feelings not so they could be human, but so they could better understand creatures and manipulate them. That's why she plans to use Dek as part of the experiment. Just as she's about to continue the procedure, she receives a message from Mother, her maker, and leaves immediately. Right then, a lab tech walks in and hears Thea speaking in the Yautja tongue. Since the tech can't understand the language, Thea uses the chance to trick him, secretly contacting Dek through their coded Yautja speech. Dek realizes Thea's on his side now, and that her sister Tessa isn't. They agree to team up once more. Dek tells her to lie to the technician, to say the object she's holding, which is actually just a Yautja kid's toy, is a vital map. He tells her to convince the synthetic to take a closer look. The moment he does, the device detonates. Thea laughs, saying she honestly thought it was just a toy for children, to which Dek replies dryly, it is for Yautja children. With that distraction, he makes his escape, throwing himself into an abyss, leading Wayland Yutani's agents to believe he's dead. Badly injured, Dek crawls his way back to his brother Quay's ship. Inside, he finds all his weapons gone, but one device remains, a small tool capable of boosting his regeneration. With effort and pain, he manages to heal his worst wounds. While exploring the wreck, Dek finds Quay's mask. He picks it up with both hands and, in a low voice filled with respect, says his brother saved him, proving he was a true wolf, one who protected his pack. With no weapons or gear left, but armed with deep knowledge of Genna's wild species, Dek decides to build his own arsenal. His plan is clear: capture every kind of creature he can find, use their parts, and craft new tools, a suit worthy of a true hunter. Over the next few days, he gathers materials, tissues, and fragments from exotic beasts, forging a completely new set of weapons and armor. When he's finally ready, he runs into Bud again and discovers the truth. She's the daughter of Kalisk. Both of them, aware of their bond and everything they've lost, choose to reunite as a pack. Together, they set out on a dangerous mission to rescue Thea and Bud's mother, who are being held captive by Wayland Yutani. The company plans to use Kalisk as an experimental subject to study her regenerative powers. Meanwhile, Tessa establishes contact with Mother, her creator. Mother asks about Dek, and Tessa, cold as ice, replies that the Yautja was a defective specimen, and he's dead. Pleased, Mother confirms that the Yautja no longer poses a threat and that the corporation approves of Tessa's performance. Meanwhile, Dek and Bud move like a storm, an unstoppable force tearing through Wayland Yutani synthetics with raw feral rage. Before setting out, Dek had secretly sent Thea's lower limbs ahead, reprogrammed with a deadly failsafe designed to annihilate anyone who stood in the way of his mission to find her, or whatever was left of her. As the legs near their destination, ready to execute the embedded protocol, another squad of synthetics storms the area, but the limbs, operating with lethal precision, strike back, tearing through the attackers with flawless coordination. In the middle of the chaos, Thea manages to reconnect with them, restoring her body and strength. When she rises, she realizes Dek has come back for her. He now believes without a doubt that they're part of the same pack, loyal wolves who should never be apart and must always protect one another. Still disoriented, Thea urges him to leave at once, but Dek tells her their mission isn't over. Now they have to rescue Kalisk. Then he reveals the truth. Bud is actually Kalisk's daughter. Thea is stunned, but as she processes it, she understands and agrees to join the plan. They're no longer just allies, they're a team, a family bound by instinct and survival. Dek slams his hand on the console, triggering a red alert, and all hell breaks loose across the entire base. Then Dek sits in silence, waiting for the synthetics to come to him. When they do, he faces them head-on, wielding the brutal hybrid weapons he forged from the creatures of Jenna. Wild, primal, and deadly, each strike tears through his enemies one by one, his sheer strength and cunning turning the tide of battle. But it's not over yet. Tessa arrives piloting a massive Wayland Yutani combat mech, armed with the most destructive weapons the corporation has ever built. Without fear, Dek stands his ground, ready to fight to the bitter end. Meanwhile, Thea infiltrates the lab where Kalisk is held captive. Just as a synthetic guard spots her, she spins and knocks him out with a clean, precise strike. Then she approaches the containment unit, determined to free Kalisk and finish what they started. Back outside, Dek is moments away from being crushed under Tessa's machine when a deafening roar shakes the air. Kalisk bursts onto the scene, unleashing pure monstrous fury as she slams into Tessa's mech. The two giants clash in a brutal, earth-shattering battle. Amid the chaos, Dek leaps onto the robot's frame, ripping out power cables one by one until the mech sputters and collapses. The fight reaches its peak as Kalisk pins Tessa down and, driven by primal instinct, devours her whole. Exhausted, the creature pulls her child Bud into a gentle embrace, a moment of pure, unexpected tenderness. Dek slowly approaches and presses his forehead against Kalisk's, a silent gesture of respect and gratitude. But just seconds later, the beast's body begins to glow from within and explodes into 1,000 fragments that scatter across the battlefield. Bud collapses, devastated, watching his mother die before his eyes, her body reduced to smoke and ash. But then the horrifying truth comes to light. Tessa is still alive. From inside the creature, she had activated her cryogenic weapon, a deadly fusion of ice and destructive energy that obliterated Kalisk from within. Covered in frost, her eyes burning with rage, Tessa rises from the wreckage. Her face, twisted with pride and hatred, radiates as much pain as fury. Without hesitation, she raises her weapon and points it straight at Thea, screaming that she never should have trusted her, that she was always a defective machine, incapable of understanding what loyalty truly means. But before Tessa can fire, Dek appears behind her, and with one precise, powerful strike, drives his blade deep into her back, stopping her before she can harm Thea. The blow drives through her body and Tessa drops to her knees, gasping, trying to get up while disbelief floods her eyes. Before she can say a word, little Bud, driven by rage and grief, launches himself at her in one final act of vengeance and crushes her skull with brutal force, ending it all. Silence takes over the battlefield. All that's left is the crackle of the fire and the hiss of molten metal. Thea, exhausted and breathing hard, approaches Dek. She studies him with a mix of respect and relief, and with a small tired smile tells him he acted like a true Yautja. Dek stays quiet for a beat. His gaze drifts to the horizon, then he answers calmly, almost a whisper, that he still ain't one. So Dek heads to Yautja Prime to face his father and the rest of the clan. His goal is simple: claim his armor and be accepted. As proof of his victory, he carries a trophy, Tessa's skull. But when he arrives, his father meets him with contempt. He mocks him, convinced his son is weak and unworthy. Cold as stone, Nyor orders 2 warriors to take him down on the spot. But Dek, calm yet fierce, shows he's no longer the unsure young warrior he once was. In seconds, he takes down both opponents with wild, calculated precision, his movements sharp, brutal, unstoppable. Even Nyor looks stunned for a brief moment. Enraged by the humiliation, Nyor decides to face him himself. The fight is brutal, pure strength against raw will. In the middle of the clash, the old leader mocks him, saying that maybe after all, the wrong son did manage to survive. Dek fights with everything he's got, but his father keeps vanishing behind the shimmer of his cloaking device, striking from the shadows. Then, remembering an old battle, Dek turns the terrain to his advantage. He kicks up dust and sand until Nyor's invisible outline flickers in the air. Using cunning over brute force, Dek sets the same trap his father once used against his brother Quay. He pins him down, locks him in place, and finally drives his blade straight through him, ending the fight with the very technique that once branded him unworthy. In that instant, a massive Kalisk bursts from the shadows and bites off Nyor's head, bringing a violent end to the old clan leader. Without hesitation, Dek steps forward, kneels beside his father's body and removes his armor, including the cloaking device. Standing tall beneath the blood-red sky of Yautja Prime, Dek claims his birthright. The young outcast is no more. He is now the new leader of the Yautja clan. At his side stand his two loyal companions, Thea and Bud, who has grown into a massive, majestic creature worthy of her bloodline. Everything seems over until the silence breaks. One by one, the Yautja raise their weapons to the sky. A new threat has arrived. Before them stands a towering, awe-inspiring figure, Dek's mother, leading an entire clan of warriors behind her. The battle isn't over. The true destiny of the new leader is only beginning. And that's how this story ends. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more wild hunts like this one. See you in the next hunt.